Oh, talk. Okay, should we get started? Okay, good evening, welcome. It's great to see everybody here. So I would like to introduce John and Decker. These two young men were mayor for the day today. In the last year, I donated to some charitable fundraising events, a mayor for the day package. So we had four people today. Two of them had to leave. So Decker and John are here for part of the meeting. So they're gonna call the meeting to order here and do the gavel. One time. Ready? All right. So the meeting's called to order. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. They're going to lead us in the pledge today. Ready, guys? Put your hand on your heart. Go ahead. Go ahead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Harper.
Here.
Mr. Jensen.
Here.
Ms. Atkins. Here. Mayor Abu Osley.
Here.
Mr. Brandt. Ms. Spencer. Here. Mr. Sterned.
Here. Okay, next we have a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. First on our agenda, we have a proclamation for the annual Five Seasons Stand Down Day. And John and Decker and I are going to come down front and read the proclamation. Okay. All right. Whereas Valor Inc. is in partnership with the Cedar Rapids Metro Area Veterans Council, the Iowa City VA Medical Center, and the Lynn County Continuum of Care will hold Lynn County's 16th annual stand down for homeless and near homeless veterans and non-veterans. And whereas stand down is a term used in times of war in which exhausted combat units come off the battlefield to rest and recover in a place of safety. And whereas according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, the first stand down was organized in 1988 by a group of Vietnam veterans in San Diego. And whereas today's stand down also refers to a community-based program that assists homeless and near homeless veterans transition to community living by providing access to human service agencies, including benefits counseling, employment and training assistance, eye exam screenings, health care screenings, housing services, legal assistance, mental health treatment, and substance abuse counseling. And whereas stand down events have been used as an effective tool in reaching out to homeless veterans nationally, reaching more than 200,000 veterans and their family members. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abu Asili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim September 1st, 2022 as 16th Annual Five Seasons Stand Down Day, and encourage residents to recognize the positive impacts of this event to assist veterans and to express gratitude to those who have served and continue to serve our nation.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew.
Want to say anything?
No. As shocking as that is. Thank you so much.
So we had a busy afternoon. We learned all about what it takes to run a city. We toured the new library, toured the fire station. They loved the fire station. We did a ribbon cutting. and got some ice cream. So it's been a very, very busy afternoon. Okay, next we have a very special presentation, the Community Life Saving Award presentation. Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. Fourth crowd on hand tonight. Thanks, Amber. Quite the crowd on hand tonight. Had a special event going on in recognition this evening. The Marion Fire Department and the City of Marion would like to recognize 2 employees of the Marion YMCA for their life-saving actions that occurred on July 14th, 2022. I'd like to ask Evelyn James and Connor Ironside to please come forward. Connor and Evelyn were lifeguards on duty at the Marion YMCA when a class participant became unconscious and wasn't breathing in the pool. Because they acted quickly in administering CPR with support from others in the class, the woman's life was saved. I would also like to honorably mention Monty Mulheron, who assisted in getting the patient to the side of the pool. All their actions prove the importance of quick recognition and initiation of CPR in the chain of survival and why the fire department is a big proponent of community-based CPR. At this time, I'd like to present Evelyn and Connor with life-saving award plaques from the City of Marion, which is provided to community members who actively provide CPR in those in need and result in a save. And lastly, I'd like to introduce to everyone Carolyn Kamenix. Carol is the survivor of this event. I would also like to introduce our staff on site. Lieutenant David Gilchrist, firefighters Jason Wagner, Bill Thomas, and Battalion Chief Jim O'Brien.
They were the ones that brought me back.
We'll get a big group picture here. Go ahead and sit up front here. Yep. Yeah, you bet you are. You're the highlight of the show, Carol. And he can get right in there with you. Okay.
Yeah, ordering everybody around, get up there.
Firefighters stand in the back and then we'll have the rest of us front. Nick's come in on the end, please.
We're trying to get everybody in the picture, Mom.
And Connor and Evelyn, if you want to put your plaques.
Yeah, hold your plaques up.
Jason scooped in just a little bit. Thank you.
Mom, I'm gonna start crying already. I do. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Everybody.
Thank you all again, and thanks to everyone who came to support them. Okay, we'll proceed with the remainder of the meeting. At this time, there is a public forum, which is a time set aside for comments from members of the public on any item that is included on the agenda but not part of a public hearing. There will be time at the end of the meeting for comments on other items that are not on the agenda. But if there's anything on the agenda that's not part of a public hearing, this is the time to address council. Please come forward.
Mayor.
Okay, seeing no
Mayor.
one's coming forward, we'll proceed with the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. Items A1 through G1, resolutions 30772 through 30785.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through G1, resolutions 30772 through 30785. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. For the next part of the meeting, I'll turn over the meeting to the Mayor Pro Tem,
Thank you, Your Honor.
or Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, sorry.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asli's abstention as follows. Items E1 to E4, which are resolutions 30786 to 30788.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Asli's abstention as follows. Items E1 through E4, resolutions 30786 through 30788. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we're going to take just a very brief recess to allow our mayors for a day to leave. I think their parents are going to be here to pick them up, so thank you, guys. Yeah.
There you go, guys.
All right, moving on with the regular agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve, move to approve resolution number 30789, amending the non-bargaining pay schedule to adjust the salary range for the deputy city manager position.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30789, amending the non-bargaining pay schedule to adjust the salary range for the deputy city manager position. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 30789, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 30790, approving employment agreement with Kim Downs as deputy city manager.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30790, approving the employment agreement with Kim Downs as deputy city manager. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 30790, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved. Welcome, Kim.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 22-15, amending chapter 105 of the Code of Ordinances relating to solid waste by establishing base monthly collection fees at $20 and increasing commercial rates. And this is the second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 22-15, amending chapter 105 of the Code of Ordinances relating to solid waste by establishing base monthly collection fees at $20 and increasing commercial rates. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 22-15, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 30791, approving contract with King Knutson Construction for the pre-engineered steel building package associated with the new public service maintenance facility and authorizing payment in the amount of $4,585,000.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30791, approving the contract with King Knutson Construction for the pre-engineered steel building package for the new public service maintenance facility and authorizing payment in the amount of $4,585,000. Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, just a question, Ryan, does this encompass additionally the hardening option that you've presented to us?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further, oh, Steve?
Yeah, just a quick question as well. King Knutson Construction used to be around here. Is this any relation?
No, no relation. Totally separate firm. They're out of Iowa Falls. They've been in business for about 75 years.
All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I make motion to approve project calendar for the roof repair package associated with Marion City Hall. Resolutions 30792 through 30794.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the project calendar for the roof repair package for the City Hall, including resolutions 30792 through 30794. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the project calendar, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Next, we have a public hearing regarding the foundation repair package for the new public service maintenance facility. We have a presentation, Ryan?
Yes, Your Honor. So the city of Marion solicited bids for the foundation repair package for the new public service maintenance facility. Engineer's estimate for this project was at $290,000. We had two bids. Western Specialty Contractors was the low bid at $348,500. That is above the engineer's estimate. But we are very confident in Western Specialty Contractors. They're a very large outfit in 27 locations throughout the United States. Staff is recommending awarding this bid. The schedule, as currently determined, they would complete the repairs by December 2nd, 2022.
Okay, at this time, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here to address the council either in favor or in opposition to this measure? Please come forward. Have we received any comments outside the meeting? Ryan,
We have not.
Rachel?
I have not.
Okay, please note that for the public record. We'll close the public hearing. Move on to the resolution.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 30795, approving bids and awarding contract to Western Specialty Contractors for the foundation repair package associated with the new public service maintenance facility and the amount of $348,500.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30795, approving the bids and awarding the contract to Western Specialty Contractors for the foundation repair package for the new public service maintenance facility in the amount of $348,500. Discussion?
Your Honor, question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ryan, how fast will they mobilize on this? So we have already held a pre-construction meeting already. So we're looking to get mobilized by the last week of August, first week of September. They're pretty confident it'll go quicker than what the calendar has been slated, but we did build in some contingencies when they start sawing into the concrete. You just don't know what you're going to find, but our structural engineer is fairly confident, everything's going to be okay. However, they build in extra time just to pad that a little bit. So we're hoping that'll actually be done in November, but we'll see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion, questions? All those in favor of approving resolution number 30795, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. Next is a public comment period regarding a request to designate 4th Avenue between 12th Street and 14th Street a one-way westbound street, and 13th Street a one-way from 3rd Avenue to 4th Avenue. So do we ask for public comments at this time?
Yes, Mayor. My name is Rick.
Oh, but you'll have to please come forward to the microphone. The meetings are recorded, so please state your name and address. And when, if you can afterwards, fill out the little yellow card back there for the city clerk, okay?
Yes, Mayor. My name is Rick Brewer. My wife Cheryl Brewer and I.
What's your address?
Live at 333 13th Street in Marion.
Okay.
Right below the school.
Yes.
And that was our concern, major concern, because I am a disabled individual, to get in and out of our driveway at any given moment in time. And my concern, that has been a great concern, is the children. It's always my concern that I have spoke with Officer Davis and the gentleman, Jerry Van Dusen, who owns the property at our house. And we have talked about a lot of safety concerns with the traffic and traffic flow and the kids ultimately being protected safely and always first in concern. But my question is the one-way going to be on the going southbound, or is it going to be going northbound? Because right now it goes northbound one way, and on the other side where they put the soccer practice facility and the football practice facility, there's no parking on that side.
As the resolution states, it'd be southbound. That's how it's proposed in the TAC memo.
So I'm supposed to pull out of my driveway and go southbound,
If city council approves it.
and then I gotta go around the traffic because they're all parked up along that road.
Yeah, so when the kids are getting dropped off or picked off, that would be a harder time to get into your house.
Hmm.
But leaving should not be a problem going southbound.
All right. I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, so you have your answer and that satisfies your concern, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the other concern I had when I was talking to Officer Davis, Mr. Van Dusen and I, was possibly creating a crossing guard down on the south end of our street. There is going to be a crossing guard, to my understanding, up by the school, and there's going to be stop signs up there. And Fourth Avenue will be a one-way going westbound.
Haven't heard that.
And, but I don't know if there's been any talks in that particular direction, because that street right there, the high school gets out about the same time as the elementary. And there's a lot of congestion. And what I come back to and relate is the children, their safety, and if there could be a crosswalk down there for the children.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to address the council?
I'm Jerry Van Dusen, and I own the property. I can see the road going by the school.
Sir, what's your address?
My address is 2830, well, of the house that I own, it's 333 13th Street.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Oh, so you own the same property?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
I can see the one-way going by the school is a good idea, but as far as making 13th Street a one-way, I don't think it'd be that good idea. I mean, he's got to get out of the house different times just because both of them have different disabilities and stuff. And to be able to have to go through the school to get down to his house, I just think it'd be a big inconvenience. But that's my concerns. Okay. Okay.
Anyone have
thank you.
questions? Oh, okay, thank you.
Do we ask questions?
Kara, is it okay if people have questions for the people who address council?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want him to come back up?
Gentleman in the white shirt.
Oh, yes, please come back.
Yes, sir.
So after seeing your letter, I do drop off and pick up there for the past couple of years and probably will be for the next 6 to 8 years. So I'm very familiar with the area. I understand why they're asking for the one-way streets. But I also understand your concern about getting out of that street at particular times. Well, you can probably always get out okay at any time of day. It's getting back in. If you had to get back in during the half hour of the drop-off time or the half hour of the pickup time, you're probably going to have a difficult time coming in off of 14th Street onto 4th Avenue and getting down to your house.
Yeah,
So you would have a difficult time. So my question to you is, do you see it as a major issue if basically the majority of your disruption is at those 2 periods of time during drop off and pickup? Can you work around those? Are you concerned about those times? Or do you feel that you can work around those times?
The timeframe, to me, may be disruptive at times because I do many things in the morning.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that take place. I might have to take a call and go somewhere to a particular party or event or a different building where Mr. Van Dusen owns and I assist. So at any given moment, I can't say that I'm gonna be okay with it at all.
See, I'm not
And-
sure I see a concern from my standpoint about you ever getting out of there. I see more of a concern about if you need to get back in
Mhm.
during those pickup and drop off and pickup times, that would be more of an issue. So
Yeah, it's gonna be an issue. There's no doubt. There's gonna be confrontation. I have had to take the liberty to talk to the superintendent at Vernon Middle School. And he has talked with me on many occasions.
Okay.
Because of the parking situation. And as well as you know, it's not good. Because we have people parking on our private property and it's posted no parking. And we got people that go ahead and park in the posted parking lot that is designated for Imperial apartment tenants only. And at several times I've come home and I've had two cars in my driveway,
in your driveway.
in my driveway. Yep.
Thank you.
And so, yes, it's definitely a concern. It's very concerning.
Right, Sarah?
Can you stay for just 1 second? I want to follow up on something else that you mentioned. Having been involved in the Safe Routes to School plan and doing a lot of observation of all of the schools in the district and the drop off and pickups and the kids, and we watched a lot come down road and cut through those apartments and cut to the other apartments and across. So, yeah. So when you mentioned the crossing guard, it just got my attention. I'm curious, do you see students walking down like your street and crossing there? Or are they coming out and going like before they get all the way down and crossing, kind of?
It's a total split. They will come down by my house. And then they'll come down on the 14th Street side on Imperial Apartments of Marion. And so it's about a 50-50 split. And then the kids, of course, are running across that street up there by the school on the north side of Imperial. And so they're trying to cross there too and get onto that new crosswalk that was made. So there's an issue about basically on all four corners.
Okay.
And the children is my concern. I mean, I've had 10 children, so. And that's the key factor.
Appreciate you observing that because we did observe similar situations like that, which kind of drew this, what could we be doing different around the building to try to facilitate a better
Correct.
coordinated, streamlined process so that maybe we don't have all of this filtering down as.
Correct. On myself, I do get on the tractor and such to move the snow for the kids. I'm out there immediately and make sure that those sidewalks are always cleaned off all the way around. If the school hasn't gotten the school sidewalk on the north side of Vernon Middle, then I'll come down that. And then I also have a Bobcat that's Mr. Van Dusen owns in one of the garages over there. And so if it becomes too big of a problem moving snow, I get that Bobcat out, and my main concern is making sure that the kids can get to where they're going.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool. You're good? Okay, anyone else address council on this topic? Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is the time for me to talk to you about this topic. So I am working with
Please come to the microphone, please. Thanks.
Mayor, members of the council, my name is Officer Brian Davis. I am the school resource officer with Marion Independent School District. And I've been working with the school district on this as well as with city engineers and our residents around us. I want to just take a moment and thank you, Rick, Jerry, for speaking up. The safety of our students is paramount. And what we've seen around the school district, around Vernon Middle School, is complete chaos when it's during pickup times. Particularly drop-off isn't as big of an issue, but during pickup times, it's a huge issue. We have parents coming up northbound on 13th Street. They will cross into 4th Avenue going both directions. We have parents coming north and south on 12th Street, turning east onto 4th Avenue. And what we have is congestion right there at 13th Street and 4th Avenue. Now, obviously, this creates problems, issues where kids are not able to see when they're leaving the school. They're not necessarily able to see completely the entire view of the street because there's so much congestion going in multiple different directions on both 4th Avenue and 13th Street. Our goal here is to move traffic in a direction, working with Safe Routes to School. That was a recommendation back in 2017 to make 4th Avenue a timed one-way. I am recommending that 4th Avenue be one-way permanently. And it's in the school's best interest to have 4th Avenue one-way going westbound from 14th Street to 12th Street. In addition to that, it's in the best interest of the school to have 13th Street going southbound from 4th Avenue to 3rd Avenue. With that being said, we are sympathetic to our residents, Mr. Brewer at 333 13th Street, how that affects him. And we've taken that into consideration. I've talked to Mr. Brewer at length, and I agree with him. During pickup hours, if he's during drop off or pickup hours, if he's trying to get back into his residence, that is going to create a little bit more stress for him because he will have to either come in off of Fifth Avenue and go south on 14th and go all the way through that traffic, or go from Third Avenue on and go northbound on 14th Street and loop around onto Fourth Avenue through that traffic. By making both of these streets one way, it is our estimation that having 2 lanes of traffic for that drop off and that pickup, that we will speed up that process and ultimately keep that congestion minimal, hopefully non-existent, but we won't know that for certain until something is done.
Go ahead.
Quick question, Officer Davis.
Yes, sir.
So I'm understanding the Fourth Avenue situation. In fact, you and I had a conversation last year in one particular spot I was parked at that you didn't like. And so I had to vacate that on a permanent basis. I thought I had a good spot. But that was up on the corner of 13th. And but if Fourth Avenue was one way heading west and 13th were to remain a 2-way, do you feel that that would affect the traffic flow in a much more detrimental way or have any impact on the safety of that whole area?
I think 13th Street is going to be is going to impact minimally as far as like, if we left 13th Street alone,
Yeah.
it would not, I don't think it's going to be that big of an impact if we left 13th Street alone and we only changed Fourth Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll just piggyback on that a little bit. What we're trying to do by making southbound by making this be southbound, we're not having vehicles come northbound and trying to cut into the queue of everyone on the Fourth Avenue side. So we're creating less conflict points. So remember, roundabout versus a 3-way or a T intersection. What we're trying to do is eliminate more conflict points for both the kids and the vehicles. So that's ultimately why the TAC recommendation is to make both of them one ways, so that we don't have northbound traffic trying to cut into Fourth Avenue and try and run a kid over or trying to cut into that line. So that's why that's the recommendation that is the safest recommendation. Again, the way that this is written is each one is a separate resolution. So council can decide to only do Fourth Avenue, or they can decide to do both.
Thank you. Your Honor. Yeah, question.
Yeah, I guess, thinking in hindsight, we should have saved this discussion for the motions, but go ahead. I mean, if there's questions of staff, let's save it for the motions.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Officer Davis.
Thank you.
Anyone else to address council under the public comment period? Never too late.
All right, I'll grab one.
Okay.
Diana Zaretsky. I live at 890 Central Avenue. I'm here from the Marion School District School Board as the director, and just offering my support for changes at Vernon that will help improve the safety of our students there. And I think Officer Davis and Superintendent Brower have presented the positions well. I just wanted to offer my support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else address council? Okay, we'll close the public comment period and move on to the motions, and then if council members have questions of staff, this would be the right time to ask them.
Your Honor, I believe we have a couple of public comments that were submitted to the city clerk.
Oh, okay.
We just had 3 in support, 2 with the Marion Independent School District and another one from John Fitch. And then we had 2 in opposition, which were from the Van Dusens and Brewers.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the motions.
Very good, Your Honor. I move to receive, file, and discuss TAC report regarding a request to designate Fourth Avenue between 12th Street and 14th Street, a one-way westbound, and 13th Street, a one-way from 3rd Avenue to 4th Avenue, a one-way southbound. This is from Marion Independent School District.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to receive, file, and discuss the Traffic Advisory Committee report. Discussion on receiving, filing, and discussing the report. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 30796, establishing 4th Avenue between 12th Street and 14th Street, a one-way westbound, and approving installation of the appropriate traffic control signs.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30796, establishing 4th Avenue between 12th Street and 14th Street, a one-way westbound, and approving installation of the appropriate traffic control signals, signs. Please, discussion.
Yes, Your
Questions of
Honor.
staff, go ahead.
Yeah, so in this proposal, I think I heard Officer Davis say that there would be 2 lanes of pickup traffic that are going westbound. Is that the configuration that the design is supporting?
Yes, Your Honor. If you look at the packet that you were provided, there's an exhibit that was provided as part of their letter. And with that, they're showing 2 lanes going westbound and 2 lanes going southbound.
Okay. So students would be crossing in front of one lane of cars to be picked up on the southernmost lane of cars.
Yeah, it's something that they'll have to get figured out on how they do it. If they get a group of them together, dismiss them, release that group. And so it's something that'll have to be coordinated at the school, how we'll have to work through.
Okay. I guess when I looked at that diagram, I didn't take the double arrow as necessarily suggesting 2 lanes. It was more to emphasize the flow of traffic. So I apologize for that misunderstanding. So the only other comment that I have just about that, for those limited periods of time for pickup or drop off, it would be impossible for a resident on 13th Street to freely access their residence by following the natural westerly flow of traffic on 4th to get to 13th. And so in whatever that time frame is, it is an impediment for what, nominally an hour out of the day, that it would be very difficult to get freely to their residence. That's just a concern I have with this dual lane configuration on 4th. So I guess that was a comment. Can't re-engineer it here now.
Sarah?
This is more with Grant as a response to that, and I fully sympathize with the situation you're in. I'm looking at all your solutions, like, could you work out something with the parking lot behind it? And I'm trying to figure out, is that a sidewalk that runs behind the home, between the home and the parking lot for the apartments off of there? I'm looking behind their home.
So this
And
is a parking lot right here.
Okay, but then south of that, there's another parking lot for the
is-
apartments, right?
Yeah, so this is a parking lot for
And
the
then
apartments here.
to the west of that, it looks like there's a white line. Is that a sidewalk, or is that just am I just seeing a line because of the grids or something?
So most of this has just been lots that they have
No,
bought
but
that are,
I'm talking about between their actual house and it's an alley.
that's just an old parcel line. So
It's an old parcel line, so there's not it's concrete there
No.
or a walkway. Okay. Okay, and just a couple things. This was not on a street and it was not at this school, but my children were part of a 2-lane pickup and drop off process at another school building that was managed by the staff there. I wondered how that would work, but it worked very efficiently and it moved things a lot faster. So I have lived through that, and I will say, and I'm not being unsympathetic to it, but I will say there are other areas of the community. I have heard from residents of them that cannot get into their neighborhoods at certain times right now because of other schools lining up and picking up, and maybe it's a half an hour, but they can't either. We're still working on how we're going to adjust that, and that's like a whole neighborhood. So it's an ongoing problem, and I'm respectful of it. I'm saying it's not, it's unique. It's unique, and we need to find a way, that everybody's happy and safe, but.
It sounded to me like everybody's in agreement that the student safety is the number
Primary.
one priority, from the school district to the homeowners to our staff. Everyone agrees, and that it's not very good right now. I mean, it's kind of, right, it's chaos right now from what I've understand. So like, it's not gonna get, I mean, it can't be that easy to get in and out right now, is it? I mean, because of the way the situation is. So we're not making it worse.
I mean, I would say based on, I've been looking and thinking, well, gosh, too bad, whatever, is it 13th? Too bad that just wasn't a dead end, right? And nobody could get off of 13th up onto 4th. That would be the solution. Obviously, then you could keep that both ways. But when what it is right now, I mean, it is really bad being sort of two-way and people coming up 13th and getting on 4th. So, as I was listening, I think it was to Rick talking about him trying to get into his driveway. What a pain to have to go through all that traffic a couple times a day. So then I think I said to you, I said, well, what if we just keep that sort of two-way? But then I was thinking about my experience, and they come right up 13th and they just jump right in front of other people. It's a little crazy.
It is.
I'm surprised that a child has not been hit yet. And I think I said this before. I mean, it's just
I'm very close a number of times.
maddening there. So without sort of just cutting that 13th Street access off to 4th, I feel like I feel like it has to be that one-way direction going south. It's a bummer. That stinks. But I think just thinking about it in the student safety, right? That's where I am. And I do think, being in Rick's shoes, I'm thinking, gosh, now a couple times a day, like I have to go out and around to try to get into my driveway, and that's tough.
But then it's no better currently,
No,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
perhaps.
I don't know,
perhaps.
but I'm just asking.
I don't know. I will say I've experienced it, and unfortunately, I mean, I think we need to have one way both directions, because they come right up 13th and they buck right in there.
Randy,
so,
then.
Yeah.
Randy, go ahead.
I regret that these are two separate items, because we need to really have that conversation about both of these. And though I am very much so wanting to make sure that the safety of our students and the pedestrians in that area are taken care of, I would like for us to maybe, and this isn't a motion or a recommendation, but if this might be one of those things where we could consider, if we do decide to move forward, at least start with making 4th Avenue one way and not jumping the gun and making the 13th Street one way. I am also sympathetic. We have not heard from the property owner of 1315. I'm concerned about a diminished value for these properties. Although emergency vehicles could get in and out of 13th Street at their whim, the homeowners do not. So, one of the next items of resolution is going to be talking about stacking of vehicles. So if I go to Menards and I come back, I could potentially be a half an hour before I can get back into my driveway, because I have to go through the stacking process of a public street. This isn't, the perfect solution is just to have Marion Independent School District buy up that block and close this off and make their own private driveway. This is still a public street at this point, and it concerns me to think that the individual at 333 13th Street is going to have to wait their turn to get through the stacked vehicles to get back into their home. I don't like that. And I personally, maybe we could just have some at least thought about doing one at a time rather than, and of course, that's the way it's laid out here. And I appreciate that. But as a homeowner, I would not, how would I resell my property to say you only have access into your home through this one-way process for 2 different periods of time, through that process. As you take a look at the grid and who owns what property, I mean, there's a lot of other opportunities to those are the issues we run into our school districts. We got nobody riding school buses anymore. Everybody's being picked up and dropped off by private passenger vehicles. So maybe the solution is to make an entrance and out, an in and out entrance and make a drive-through on that parking lot over there. So we're not impacting the residents until such time that those can be purchased. But I'm out on the 13th Street issue until we at least can witness what that 4th Avenue looks like first, I guess. I just don't like the idea of people not being able to get back into their homes given to the flow of traffic. That just, I don't think that's right.
But my question is, how is it now? Can they get in? Can they get out now?
I would think they certainly could get in, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming if somebody needs to get in at that 333 address, they're going around the vehicles that are in the standby mode on the right-hand side and passing traffic to get into their driveway, unless there's a vehicle blocking their own driveway. And the same for 1315. So cars respectively pull off to the shoulder as close as they can, but allowing the other traffic to move through there so that at least the residents can get into those driveways.
Okay, go ahead, Steve. Oh, Grant, you were first. Did you have something? And then
Well, I guess just listening to the conversation, I mean, what we have here is we have fundamentally a reasonably strenuous safety issue for the kids. That's magnified by northbound traffic on 13th that then is trying to merge in and drop in or pick up kids and, and let's think about this in terms of, the dead of winter and street geometries and widths are reduced. So what we're trying to do is move from a substantial safety issue and apply a solution that in its totality, it's less than optimum, but it is certainly better than leaving a situation where the safety of the kids is compromised. So I would just say, whatever our conclusion here on these two items this evening, I think what we should do is, I'd like to hear, Officer Davis, I'd like to hear back from you at a future date and tell us, how's this working? And is there, I think it was Colette that said, maybe the solution to this is dead end 13th at 4th. And if that's the ultimate solution to satisfy all constituencies, I think we're going to end up having some evidence to that potentiality here within the next couple of months. So I think though the solution as designed, albeit not perfect, is addressing the fundamental concern relative to kids' safety. And I'd be interested in entertaining dead ending 13 at a future date.
Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I just need some clarification. I think Mike can probably provide it. So our understanding is where the red line is, that'll be 2 rows of cars dropping off or picking up. That's essentially the stacking area. Is there still parking on the south side, kind of between, just on the east side of 13th? Is there still going to be some parking spots right there? Those will stay there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then on 13th Street is not going to be a stacking street.
No, sir.
That's going to be a street intended for traffic to flow.
Correct.
So nobody parks there now for pickup?
They do.
Well,
On 13th Street.
not very, at least when I've been there, the cars are there very temporarily trying to get into 4th,
Correct.
but they're not stacked there waiting for pickup. So is parking on 13th still going to be on the east side of that street all the way up and down?
That's how it is right now.
Yep.
We would have to have a separate resolution if we wanted to amend that, which we can, if we want to amend that motion, if that's what council wants to do. I didn't want to get too much into the weeds if you didn't want to approve the one way, so.
Well, again, I bring that up because if we're talking about traffic flow and how this all affects, 13th Street really gets crowded because of the drop off and pickup, because teachers are parking cars on 13th. And then whatever spots are left there, people are parking there for pickup. Drop off is not the biggest issue here. It's the pickup
The pickup.
at 3:20. And so, or 3 o'clock, they're 3 o'clock there.
Correct.
So that's the biggest issue. So as we start talking about what happens to 13th, I'm not sure what the right thing is for 13th right now because 4th Avenue is going to have some impact on the traffic flow there. I've got concerns about blocking somebody's access to their house. But I think there may be some other options we can consider on 13th and eliminate some of those parking spots. I always feel the school has some responsibility or a major responsibility for providing parking for the teachers and the people who work there.
Correct.
And that is not always intended to be on the public streets. So that said, I think that comes into play eventually on what happens with 13th.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, other comments? So we're still on the resolution 30796, which is the 4th Avenue discussion. Any further discussion on that before we vote? Oh, sorry, we're on the resolution part now. I mean, is it something you didn't say before, or? Technically, it shouldn't be public comments during this discussion, but I'll allow one comment if you have something there. If it's quick. Thank you. Yeah.
Now, everybody knows where the new soccer field was designated in the football practice facility for the younger generation. Now, westerly beyond that soccer field, and there is a great big land mass of grass. Now, why couldn't that be a parking lot down on the other end, going on the west end? There's a lot of green area, green space there. And that could be a parking lot.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind. But making, excuse me, making my street a one-way. That's a nightmare. If it stays the way it is, yeah, school teachers park on my street. They're considerate. And there's also parents that park on that street on my side going northbound. But it would put me at wit's end as a individual that lives at that residence.
Thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion on this item? Vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 30796, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 30797, establishing 13th Street between 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue as a one-way southbound and approving installation of the appropriate traffic control signs.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 30797, establishing 13th Street between 3rd Avenue and 4th Avenue as one-way southbound and approving installation of the appropriate traffic control signs. So, Mike, in your opinion, what about that? With, I mean, the parking issue, is it the parking issue that's causing the issue, or is it traffic that's causing the safety issues for kids?
Yeah, so it would be more the traffic issue. So again, if I'm a car and I want to come northbound and I don't want to wait with everyone else and I want to try and cut into this traffic that's already sitting, queuing, waiting for the kids. That's what we're more concerned about, is that person that doesn't want to wait like everyone else is and cut into that 4th Avenue. Barricading or removing portion of that street so that 4th Avenue and 13th don't intersect. That could be a potential solution. City Council has approved the 4th Avenue as a one-way. We can try that, see if it works. Obviously, there's going to be some education with parents and everything. We can start with this as an interim step. And then if it continues to be a problem, we can look at it, see if there's another solution. And again, bring it back to City Council as a TAC item. It's completely up to City Council on what you want to do at this point.
But the idea of having another parking lot down the way, that's not gonna solve the traffic issue of pickup.
No.
And safety issues with that. I mean, that was, yeah. That was
No,
my
I mean, I
question.
can tell you at City Hall, they park in the aisles and at City Hall as places for kids to come up and get picked up. They do it everywhere. I'm sure they're gonna do it at the library as well. Parents are everywhere to have the kids come and get picked up during pickup. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, on 13th, no parking is currently on which side of the street?
Based on the image, it looks like it's no parking on the west side. So if it was to be determined that it should be southbound one way, obviously the cars would be parked in the wrong direction. So we would want to flip that. And so we can follow it up with a separate resolution in the future to switch the parking on the other side so that the parking's on the correct side, or completely remove the parking if we don't want parking there at all. But first, we wanted to have this discussion to make sure council's even on board with making it one way, because otherwise it becomes a moot point.
Well, you read my mind about reorienting where the no parking is if we were to change it to southbound. Thank you. Scares me, by the way, that you can read my mind.
We've had a few discussions.
Anyone else want to share their view on this? Go ahead.
Well, my overall view is I think I'd like to see Fourth Avenue in operation for a while to see what impact that has and get Officer Davis's feedback on what is truly happening at that intersection with 13th. I think we got some different options available that is potentially on the table and can be modified, but I'm in favor of Fourth at this point in time. I'm not in favor of 13th with the individual not having access for at least an hour a day. But I think there's other options that we need to consider on 13th, so I'll probably be voting no on that.
Colette, go ahead.
Can you, people will go up 13th and they'll cut in. That will be what happens based on my experience, lived experience. So what does it look like if you barricade that? I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, so we can actually physically remove that intersection so that 13th becomes a dead end. We would probably come in somewhere right north of this driveway. So this person, it looks like their driveway is right here. So we would come in north of that driveway and we would physically remove a portion of that, plant some grass and put a temporary barrier rail or TBR in there. So like when you're driving down 6th Avenue and you're approaching the signal at 22nd, that's what temporary barrier rail is. It's just that concrete. And we stick it in there so people can't cut through. Because if we just put grass in there, there'll still be people that try and cut through, like when we modified Indian Creek Road. And so that's an option that can happen as well, depending on what the school does at some point. And that's kind of why I highlighted in blue everything that the school district owns today. And that's why when 4th Avenue, the westerly half of that is already owned by the school. So it's been vacated and dedicated to the city or to the school from the city. Eventually, if they were to buy the rest of that block down there, then it all becomes their property anyways, if and when they do that. And so, this was a solution of we're going into the school season. They're obviously not going to buy it tomorrow, but what can we do to make it safer for the kids? So.
Go ahead, Grant.
So I guess thinking about, so we have 4th Avenue westbound, 2 lanes for pickup and drop off. We evaluate for a period of time and get some feedback relative to the confluence of traffic coming off of 13th north on the 4th. Understand that a little bit better here in the next, when does school start? Like next Tuesday? Okay. So real quick, we're going to start having some diagnostics that we can glean from. And I think really as quick as we have a bit of information, I think we can then go to a conclusion at perhaps even as early as our next council series of meetings of whether or not to authorize some barrier, making that putting a barrier at the top of 13th, because that ultimately seems to satisfy all parties concerned. And the only thing it would do is it would force the outflow of traffic, the pickup and drop off traffic. It would force it over to further to the west and not be involving 13th at all. So I guess I'm generally thinking, let's see how this works, leave 13th alone, and then come back and have additional discussion with some field experience under our belt.
So I would just say we'd probably want to wait a little bit longer. With Fourth Avenue changing, it's going to take time for the school district to train the parents to do that. So the results are not going to be that quick. Anytime you make a change, you have to have that education component with it as well. So you'd have to wait a little bit longer. The only other things to think about too is if we were to cut off 13th, obviously we have some possible issues with fire apparatuses and garbage trucks that don't have a turnaround anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a potential issue as well. So we have to keep those departments in mind as well. So nothing is ever simple and just, we can do this. So just want to keep that in mind.
Other discussion? Go ahead.
I'll make this quick. I'm gonna go, the reason we're having this conversation is because the Safe Routes to School plan was obviously getting kids in and out of these buildings safest, how they move from building to building, everything going along with the intent. In addition to that, the other part of the plan was moving naturally and getting out of cars and getting kids walking, even if it's a block or two away from the buildings or different places we could go, biking to school, walking to school. And that is a large part of this same plan, including the survey, education, talking to parents. We surveyed the whole school. Why do you not walk to school? What keeps your child from not walking to school? And learning a little bit about that because of the situation, or these situations. So I'll come back and say, I hope that in addition to all of this, because I'm glad we're having these conversations, and there are other school buildings that need to have these same conversations, that we also are talking to MISD about the additional parts of the plan, which is how are we getting kids to walk to school, to bike to school, and the other things that have proven that they learn better, it's healthier, it's better for everybody because we are not congesting up these buildings with cars, and we're using the walkability, our sidewalks, our trails, everything else that makes this a safe place for kids to come in and out, and the neighborhood. And there's a lot of work to be done on it. So I'm glad we're having these conversations and really looking at the larger scope of the neighborhood.
I really appreciate the thoughtful conversation and so. Any other questions? Or discussion? Are you ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor of approving resolution number 30797, please say aye. Aye. You and I?
Yes.
Okay. All those opposed, say no.
No.
So we have 3 noes and 3 ayes, so it's defeated. Okay, so the motion is defeated. Go ahead, Ryan.
Your Honor, with the discussion about coming back and evaluating the data, we'll get together as a staff and the new calendar review that we've included in the In Focus. We'll get together and make sure we include an appropriate timeframe for that. So we're documenting it for the public, for council.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to community development.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 22-16, approving an amendment to section 176.52 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding drive-through facility stacking and design requirements, second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution or ordinance number 22-16, approving an amendment to section 176.52 of the Code of Ordinances regarding drive-through facility stacking and design requirements. Discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 22-16, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Next is a public hearing on a request to amend the future land use map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan from single-family detached residential to single-family attached residential and to rezone the property from ag to SR4 Suburban Two-Family Residential District for the property west of Winslow Road, south of Tower Terrace Road extended. All right, the public hearing is open. We have a presentation?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yes, so as indicated, the following is a public hearing that it covers both a comprehensive plan amendment and a rezoning request. The council opened the public hearing at the last city council meeting and continued the public hearing. At that time, there was quite a bit of discussion regarding the proposal. As indicated, there are two proposals. The first one, the comp plan, we highlighted within our staff report, and on Tuesday, what the comprehensive plan is and the process we go through to amend it. As proposed here, the existing land use map on the screen identifies the property as single family detached residential. The proposal is to go to single family attached residential. As a reminder, in order to move forward with a rezoning request, that rezoning would need to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So as we talk about this evening, if the comprehensive plan amendment does not get authorized, then the rezoning proposal would not be able to move forward. On Tuesday, we went through in great detail and before on the specifics to the comp plan amendment. I know there were a lot of questions regarding that. If there's a desire, I can walk through those more this evening, but I think we've talked about them a lot. I do know that the developer is here, and if there are questions for him, I'm sure he would be available to answer those. I would point out that the comp plan amendment started with the request to the city. We've reviewed it internally. Staff supported the request to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission then also did recommend approval of the request with the 6-1 vote at the August meeting. And that's the recommendation that's been brought forward to the council and is before you tonight.
Anyone here to address council on this measure? Please come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Todd Wood, 2505 Deer Lane Road, Marion. I'm the owner of this parcel. We're back again. First of all, if I would request it not get tabled again, that there's a vote on this, would be my first suggestion or ask for. I really only had 3 questions. First of all, do you have any questions for me since last week? No. I have a few questions because I guess obviously wasn't involved with your discussion, which understandably so, behind closed doors. My first question would be is, if you use city staff and planning and zoning, if developers meet with them to determine what is viable or what makes sense, and you don't use a recommendation, what's the point of it? I guess I would ask, any one of you would just give me a response. What's the point of meeting with city staff on a project and then going through P&Z if it's not something city council wants?
Anyone? Okay, well,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Wood, I guess just from my vantage point, one of the questions, and I happen to live in relatively close proximity to your property there, okay? And I've seen you doing work on the home that is situated back in there. So I kind of have at least a visual representation of what you're wanting to do. But one of the questions that I have had on this is, and in this immediate area is, there's been a lot of multifamily attached development north of Tower Terrace. And one of the questions that I have is, our comprehensive plan is what, I guess 10 years older there and about. And I see what you want to do there, which is kind of mimicking what's been going on north of Tower Terrace. But I have just kind of questions of what's our housing need generally for the city, not necessarily specific to this one parcel. So I just want you to know that's a point of, that's a data point I want to understand relative to what's going on in this city in its entirety. It just happens to also pivot on your request in this regard to change our comprehensive plan to go from single residence to attached multi-family residences. So I just wanted to share that perspective with you. And I think we're going to be receiving that study in relatively short order, but that's a work product that city staff has requested. And we'll be seeing the benefits of that here I would expect within the next couple, 3 to 4 weeks. So that will at least help inform any questions I have about this specific undertaking.
To answer your question, one of the things that I'm proudest of with this council is they don't rubber stamp things. They're very thoughtful. This council does their homework. They take seriously their job of looking at the big picture of what's good for the city and doing what's best for the greatest number of people in the city. And they don't just rubber stamp what other people should tell them they should do. I have a question for you. When you bought the property, did you look at the comprehensive plan and see what it was slated to be zoned as?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand your comment and some concern about it. And the reason this got tabled is we said, wait, we are talking about maybe not agreeing with you potentially. And what we don't want to see in the future, and this is my concern and depending on what happens, we don't want to see a developer putting a lot of effort upfront into a preliminary plat, yada, yada, until maybe the comp plan should have been taken care of first instead of doing all of it at once. Maybe those are some aspects and discussions that as a city, we need to take a look at. But if you were to ask me, again, to follow up on the mayor's comment, our responsibility is the totality of this city. And that's our responsibility to look at that on a long-term basis. And it's not that what you're proposing is bad or wrong. I think I'm looking at it from my perspective as what I think is the most appropriate. And that's what I'm going to be basing my decision on. What you're proposing is not bad. Projects you've had in the past have obviously been good and successful. The question is, what is most appropriate for this area here? And I think that's the aspect personally I'm looking at. So
That we need to come to an understanding between us and.
Yeah.
You have something? No. You
Your
had
Honor.
something else. Go ahead. Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a couple of comments and add on to the answer that you provided. I think that even though your answer, which is correct, that this council does not just rubber stamp things, I think to give you an additional answer to that, it is important for you to continue working with city staff and the boards and commissions, because those recommendations do come from staff. They come from the boards and commissions, whether or not council agrees with them. They're the ultimate decision makers, but it can be incredibly helpful when you come in with that staff recommendation. So I'd encourage you to continue working with them, because you'll be in a much better position and you'll be better informed when you come into council. Additionally, there was a comment about discussions behind closed doors, and I want to clarify for the record that we have not had a closed session on this, and there have been no council discussions behind closed doors.
Yeah, I didn't mean like that. I meant like work sessions. I didn't mean closed doors as far as that goes. Thank you for the answers. I do have a second question then. If that's the case, can you give me an example of one place in Marion, not just in that area, but one place in Marion that it's okay to change the comp plan? Anywhere in Marion. What was made 10 years ago, just give me any situation where you're okay changing it.
depends on, it's on a case by case basis. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you a certain area, but it has to be, you have to know, I mean, it depends on what it's changing to, or the request is to change it to. You have to have the facts in front of you before you can answer that question. Does that make sense?
It does. So with that, it's not because it was created 10 years ago that it was supposed to be residential, single family. It's because you look at it a case by case basis. Is that what you're saying?
Saying, if you want me to tell you what other part of Marion we might be willing to change. The
Exactly.
comprehensive plan is not beyond being changed. It depends on the situation.
Okay, fair enough.
But it is, I mean, in my opinion, it is a guide to the people buying property, the developers, that this is what it's envisioned for this area. And if we just changed it because someone requests it every time, then what are we doing here?
Maybe then I can reword that question. Where in the city of Marion, of anything that isn't developed, are you okay with duplexes? Wherever in the city of Marion, are you okay with duplexes?
There's nothing wrong with fundamentally with duplexes.
No, I'm not saying there is. I'm just asking for another spot. So as a developer and as a homeowner or landowner, we know that. So it's whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, we know that the council is okay with that.
My personal opinion is that it should be dispersed. Like there should be a variety of types of options within each area of the city and neighborhood. So it's not concentrated all in one area. That's just my personal view, but.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll be quick. I don't have much more. What I would say to that is Tower Terrace is to the north. Floodplain is to the west. A care center that's been there for 30 years, 40 years is to the south. Winslow Road is to the east with a city-owned lot on the other side of that, with no objections to this point. That's what I'd say. Second of all, if this is what the council views, and you vote on it that way, which is fair, are you going to pass that on to city staff and zoning? Because I've dealt with Tom Trayon for 20 years, and all I have heard from city staff is nothing is set in stone. Where is a better place to build duplexes when there's nothing around it than here? That'd be my question. If nobody has, I understand if you want to answer that. I would request, Nick, I'm not sure that you would vote on this if you're going to abstain. I know in past times that you have. I've never met with you in our lawyer's office. I would like to see you vote on this. Any other questions for me?
Here's my question. I'm not opposed to duplexes at all. And I probably don't see that as a place that we'd have single family, truth be told. Full lots of single family, because it is a buffer. For me, I'm already very concerned about the number of homes that back up to Tower Terrace as it is. That's a commercial corridor. It's going to be an east-west connector. And we now already have homes backing up to it. And to me, that's not a good thing, because something's going to happen with that road someday and people are going to be like, not in my backyard. What are we doing? Oh my gosh, that's a big road. I'm more concerned from that standpoint. So I get the buffer. I probably have a bigger piece with it that could there be more single family mixed in with those duplexes? Or could there be, and this may be a planning and zoning, I don't know, maybe planning and zoning can discuss it. This is my first round with these operations. Could it go back? Can they say, can you do like a single condo type of situation? So it looks like it's a house, even if it's not a full size home. I know it might even be smaller than the duplex, but so it doesn't look like there's one house and a bunch of duplexes. Maybe not. I don't know. Just kind of tossing things out there and there. So that's more of kind of where I'm coming from, where I look at this and I go, okay, hold on a second. And then also right, like how do we have a mix? I'm a big person when it comes to, and this fits part of that. I believe in neighborhoods where you can age in place. Can you go from an apartment to a single family home, to a home you raise your kids in, to an attached, to maybe a single condo, and not have to move far away? Because we all kind of like the areas we live in. And I can see where that could be happening in this space. It's just kind of how we make it work. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on when you were asking.
That's fair. The only thing I would say to you, Sarah, is first of all, which quick, it doesn't answer most of what you said, but for one thing, I don't know if you've seen the site plan, but none of them back up to Tower Terrace. So when you say lots that back up to Tower Terrace, there isn't any.
Yeah, I think I'm looking more like, once you get past this, that we already have that whole section that's now running east on Tower Terrace from this property, where those townhomes, those duplexes are those lots are backing up. Am I incorrect? That those back up on east on Tower Terrace?
There's some that back up. Yeah, on the north side, there's quite a few between Winslow and
Roundabout.
35th, yeah.
I was just stating this project.
But this project.
Wouldn't be. So just so I'm clear, you'd rather have single family backing up to Tower Terrace?
No, I said within this lot. Actually, I'd rather have commercial, truth be told. I'd rather have that.
Well,
I'd
let's do
rather have
that.
be commercial on that north side. Right? I'd rather have commercial, 2 duplexes too.
No, that's my other spot up north, or up to the east.
That could be, and that may be because I'm very protective. I've worked in sections of Tower Terrace Road for most of my career, so I get that. So, that's only my humble opinion on. You asked where people were. That's where I'm at. That's my question. That was my questions, and those were my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for me?
Just a question back to my original comments or answer to your original question. Is there any luxury of time for at least, and I'm going to have to refer to Tom and staff as when we think we're going to get that housing report. That's a critical piece of information for me, and somebody might say, well, that's not important, but it is important to me just because I want to understand what's the pervasive need in the community. So I guess if Mr. Wood, is there any latitude on time, or do you need hard decisions tonight?
No, I'd rather have a hard decision tonight. I'd rather see a vote. I'd rather see where you stand.
Okay.
I'm ready to move forward, whether it's this way or another way. So I would like to see a decision made tonight.
Okay.
Any other questions?
This is more, I got to go back to see where we're talking about first, though. This is the public hearing on amending the land use plan. It's not necessarily about the plan of what's there. Like it was like, I have questions about let's say I have questions about the plan. Could planning and zoning make adjustments to this to make it so that would that be handled here? Does that get handled here under amending the comp plan, or what's on that lot? Or does that get handled
Tom,
later?
Tom, can I answer that one? Councilmember, the action, the comp plan amendment would have to be authorized first before you consider the actual plan, the layout of the plan. So if there is a concern about the plan, then, and you would want the planning and zoning to look at that again, you would not authorize this and have it go back to planning and zoning. So this is a first step in order to authorize the change in the comp plan to allow for the zoning to occur, to allow for the lot lines that is part of this proposal. Yeah, you have to have this happen in order to get to where you're actually looking at the plan itself. Because the comp plan is, as we talked about on Tuesday, is that high level, 50,000 foot aspirational, is kind of generally what we're thinking as a community for this area. And then as developers come in or if people come through and they have the proposals, then they go through that mechanics of, okay, we've got a plan in place. Now we need to make sure that the plan is amended to allow the zoning code then to be amended in order to then have the plat and the plans approved as part of that.
Okay, so this is strictly, do we allow, and then in this, does that, can it only then be two, besides the existing house? Can it only be two-family, or could you put, if you amend the comp plan, is that all that can be there, or is that in addition to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, so.
Tom understands my wonky
As,
talk.
as it's currently land use designated, the appropriate zoning districts would allow for single-family residential only. When you go to the detached land use designation, it would allow for a mix. So the lower density could be mixed in. I will point out that, one of the reasons you see more information in the packet, we've got the rezoning request and the concept plan, which it has a mix of units in that. And the reason for that is because if we came in here and just illustrated, or if Mr. Wood came in and just said, I want to go from single family to two family, you guys are all going to ask the next question. So what is it going to look like? How's it going to lay out? What's the plan for that? And that's why you're seeing the information. It's the basis for the request to change the comp plan and ultimately illustrate what the proposed zoning would be. We have moved in the direction of providing both a public hearing at the time of comp plan and rezoning, because typically the information that's being provided is the information that the council wants to see to make a determination if you're going to amend something like the comp plan. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the information. Now, if there was a desire that, hey, we're okay with duplexes and single family mixes, the comp plan could be amended, and then the rezoning would be where you would say, okay, within that mix, we want to see two zoning district classifications. You could rezone the property in two different classifications. Generally, I mean, that's where you could say we'd like to see a different concept plan that provides for that. So there are opportunities, to approve one and not the other. And the developer can bring back a proposal after the comp. Like, clearly, he's not going to move forward with anything until he understands that there's some support for a mix of uses. So does that make sense? I don't want to be confusing, but.
Very much.
Your Honor, just a question. So the plan at this point that's been proposed ultimately for utilizing this property, does it have, with the exception of the house, I know the house is there and it's been there for since 65 or whatever the date is. Are all of the structures contemplated to be built on the property? Are they multifamily, or are there a few of them that are individual family? Whoever can answer the question, I'm looking at
There
the
are a few of
diagram
them that
now.
are individual.
Pardon me?
There are a few of them that are individual.
Okay.
And this gives me the flexibility of doing more, because if you've ever driven on other developments, whether it's a cul-de-sac or as the units, if it's a duplex, they get bigger. I lose street frontage, and then I end up having to put a single in. This gives me the flexibility.
All right, so this mimics, you did the development that's northeast of this on the north side of Tower Terrace?
There's like 4 developments to the north.
Yeah.
Or to the east.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Yeah. So this would emulate that, mimic it.
Yeah, I'm the units that I'm thinking of as far as space are 3-car garages, 1,600 square feet, 400 to 500,000. That's what's on Gemstone. If you drive down Gemstone, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and I'll turn over the meeting to the Deputy Mayor Pro Tem for the next.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we're now on item F3. Have the motion, please.
Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, I move to remove from the table resolution number 30771 regarding an amendment to the Marion Future Land Use Map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan. This will be Atwood's Rentals LLC, tabled on 8/4/2022.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to remove from table resolution number 30771 regarding an amendment to the Marion Future Land Use Plan of Marion Comprehensive Plan, Atwood Rentals LLC. Discussion. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And I recusing myself.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 30771, approving an amendment to the Marion Future Land Use Map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan from single-family detached residential to single-family attached residential for property located west of Winslow Road and south of Tower Terrace Road, extended Marion, Iowa. This is brought by Atwood Rentals LLC, and this was tabled on 8/4/22.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove from table resolution number 30771, approving an amendment to the Marion Future Land Use Map of the Marion Comprehensive Plan from single-family detached residential to single-family attached residential for property located west of Winslow Road and south of Tower Terrace Road Extended, Marion, Iowa, Atwood Rentals LLC. Discussion. Yes, Steve.
Yeah, so one of the things I talked about Tuesday is driving Tower Terrace and getting my vision all the way from 35th Street down to what this area is gonna be like. And my conclusion was that Lennon Lane is basically the street where all of the duplexes or condos like that are east of Lennon Lane, and single family housing is west of it. So it's not that this is a wrong project. In my opinion, I think a more appropriate use of this area is single family. And so for that reason, I will not vote for it.
Colette?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I too, I'd like to see the housing study before we make any changes to the comp plan. And so hearing what the gentleman said and wanting us to vote, I would have preferred to let it table so we could get the housing study, so we could get a better sense about what the needs are in the community. But respecting your desire, I will be voting no until we get the housing study back to make a decision on what our larger community needs. So I just wanted to explain that.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, very good. All those in favor of resolution number 30771, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
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 Deputy Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to remove from table ordinance number
Your
22
Honor.
days.
Deputy Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Actually, before that motion is made, I'd like to make a procedural clarification that the next items would not need any action, so we don't need to make those motions.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I'll do the same on that.
You know that you need to coach me. Okay, very good. Okay, does that also apply to the next item, F6?
It does, Your Honor.
Okay,
Then you have the next one too.
okay, very good. Okay, thank you. That closes off on those items. So now we're at other department discussion. Any advanced commentary on that? Mr. Waller or Tom?
So yes. Deputy Pro Mayor, I can't get it right.
If you give an acronym to it, it would be easier for you.
Yes, so as the council's aware, the city and Genesis Equity entered into an agreement in July of 2020, which established some TIF payments and also set up some guidelines for how the property in that area would be developed. The agreement specifically identified that a concept plan, which was established actually with the previous, with the original agreement, was revised in 2020, and there was a secondary concept plan provided at that time. The agreement does provide the opportunity for the petitioner to bring in a proposed concept plan to be reviewed by council. If that concept plan is accepted, then a project can move forward in that regard, consistent with the concept plan. As indicated, the previous concept plan identified 3 separate buildings of different capacities. The owners of the property have brought forward a proposal that would include 3 lots with a car wash and then 2 restaurant pads. And they've identified to the council that they'd like to revise that concept plan to support this development, and are asking the city council to review and discuss that option that is on the table.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Tom? In the slide deck, do you have a representation of the original the original footprints that were provided in the agreement?
They are not.
They're in the memo, according to our clerk.
Okay, I do see those.
They're the black and white versions that were, I have them on my desktop.
Okay. All right, so maybe just, can you compare and contrast this particular, the most recent revised request? Can you compare and contrast that to the original concepts that were attending to the agreement?
The original proposal, which I believe was in 2016, identified a large single standing building, multi-story medical grade building and facility on the lot as one unit, fronting the roundabout with the parking in the rear on the sides.
Okay, so I do see this in the packet. There was one version with a single building fronting 7th with parking east, north, and west. And then the other version was a building fronting 7th, building to the northwest of that and north of it with parking. The diagram's not real good, but I presume then parking for those buildings in between them. So it was a 3 building or 2 building or single building configuration, if I am looking at that correctly. Is there anything there that I said that was incorrect?
No, I think it was, the original prospect was but when the area was first under development, I think it was a different time. Obviously, it was pre-COVID and everything, so there was a much larger building placed proposed on the site. When things turned and the economy changed, the developer brought forward a revised concept, which took down the larger building, multi-story, and added the 3 building pads on the site in 2020. So that was the change from one building to smaller, and I believe at the time it was more about the change in the economic environment.
Okay, so thanks for clarifying that. As agreed to, as now requested. Any comments or questions? Yeah, Steve?
Yeah, I've looked at both plans, and it seems to me that the requested alternative concept plan is a major deviation from the original concept plan. I mean, the original concept plan created an expectation that the property would have an office building on it, and the new alternative plan proposed includes a car wash. So I think those are significantly different concept proposals.
Any other comments? Well, I guess just from my vantage point, I try to, I think that point of comparison in terms of the significance of the change, the significance of the delta, if you will, as agreed to, as now requested, is meaningful. And I certainly, Tom, I think I heard you say, market conditions. I understand those driving forces. As I think about this general corridor, I would have to say, something that just strikes me, and it's just as it is. We're getting to be restaurant dense, and I worry a little bit about that. Not that I dislike restaurants, but as I just think about the entire area, we've got a nucleus of restaurants that seem to be in the area. And but I am more struck by the fundamental change from being, I guess, business centric now to transient automobile centric. And I think that's significant for us to think about. So I'm at the end of my commentary. Anything else?
I do know, excuse me. That the petitioner is in the audience. I don't know if the council is aware of that or not, but
yeah.
There are questions. This does bring a different question to mind. As currently requested, has there been any evaluation of traffic impact on and off of 7th, on and off of 8th, relative to, as currently proposed, restaurant loading as well as loading for the car wash? There's not been a traffic study done related to these. Those usually come at the time of a very specific plan, and engineering kind of makes the call as to when those are necessary or not.
Okay.
Depending on the site plan.
All right. Anything else attendant to this? Anything else? Brian, anything that you're looking from us on that we haven't covered off on at this point?
No, just that, as Tom had mentioned, as part of the development agreement, the request has been made. The council has that, the ability to make that determination. Appreciate the petitioner's patience as we've gone through and evaluated based on the council's direction. As Tom noted, they're here if there are any questions, but just in the back and forth with the developers, I know that they're looking for some clarity on being able to move forward in one way or the other.
So are we to decision that particular question tonight, or will that then be acted on at a future meeting?
You have the ability to it's on the agenda now. You can make a determination. And if there is anything, what we would do is we would provide a follow-up resolution at a future meeting to memorialize that. But this is on the agenda for consideration by you. So you can provide a level of direction.
Anybody have any comments, questions? Well, so I guess what I'm hearing here is the action is an affirmative direction to have it on the next agenda for decision.
What we would be looking for is if there's a desire to, is this something that the council wants to entertain as a concept? If the answer is yes, we'd need to have a consensus on that. We would then go ahead and memorialize, put together a resolution for that. On the flip side, if the council is not supportive of this, that would be the consensus that we would need, and then we would put the resolution on the next agenda memorializing that as well.
Okay,
Your Honor, we could also put alternating resolutions on the agenda if everybody is not clear what they want to do at this time. So a consensus obviously makes that easier. We do one resolution, but if we need to, we can also do two resolutions. We've done that before.
well, unless I hear anything different from my colleagues, I think the comments that Steve and I have are centered on kind of the departure from the original agreement. That's a significant point to us. And I'm not,
I would also agree with that.
okay. And I see
Agreed.
Randy, okay.
I concur, yeah.
Okay, so, but Kara, I do appreciate the, the ability to action it as two separate resolutions at our very next council meeting. With that sentiment in mind, I guess, thoughts, give me feedback, or did we just undo the idea you had?
No, I believe you gave me the direction I will need for drafting.
Okay.
And we can always amend it if necessary at the meeting.
But from staff's perspective, what we heard is that there is not a desire to entertain the concept that's presented.
Correct.
So the resolution will be prepared in that manner for the next council for formal action.
I would say that's our consensus, unless there were something radically, compelling to change our mind. So that's, I guess, the beauty of having some time in between now and our next meetings. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks all. Okay, so this brings us then to general oh, the mayor is here. I can turn it back to the mayor.
Public forum. Time set aside for comments from the public on any item, whether or not it's on the agenda. Anyone here to address council, please come forward. Yes.
If I think the Genesis folks did not speak on that item, but this would be a time when they could speak.
Okay.
Is that correct?
That'd be true.
They could, yep.
Yeah.
Send it back to.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Jeff or Hannah, did.
Jeff Witter, I gave my whole thing. So is there any way you can put this picture up on the screen? Or that's too old technology?
Rachel, you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that.
This is taking us back to maybe 1974 classroom technology.
There's a lot of dust on that machine.
Yeah, there is. All right, you guys probably forgot about this. This is where we started. That's Marion Iron Site. That was the roundabout, sits in the worst spot, right here. The city came to us to help develop this site because they couldn't get it done themselves. Came to us first. This lot took on the burden of carrying the vision of 6th Avenue. If you look in the developer's agreement, you'll see that to make this simpler, because I could talk for 3 hours about this. From what I understand, the first one with the single building that everybody wished we could have developed went away. It's already redone to be one or more buildings in the agreement, right? So that's a moot point at the original one. It's already been changed from the original one to one or more. Okay, so this reflects one or more.
Now, the fact that somebody wants to put up restaurants or whatever they want to put up, really, in our agreement, is based on one or more commercial buildings, 10.5 million. That's what it says. It says promote highest and best use. So looking through your study, I think there's a little bit of not quite understanding how this project actually worked. So in this introduction of the study that you guys had done, it says on the introduction part, the city provided 2.6 million in financial assistance in the form of an economic development grant and incremental property tax payments, which were to pay costs of constructing the environmental remedies, remediation project, the 6th Avenue project, and the building project. Okay, so we looked through the numbers today to see where that 2.6 million actually went. Every penny of that 2.6 million went into, I think it was the phase 4. I mean, you can follow it. Nothing of that money went into this to help promote any better user on this lot, not a penny. It all went into 6th Avenue, every bit of it. Our project started, if you could turn to, I think I could point it out to figure 2 in his study. Do you have that up? Can you pull that up? You can, okay. I can use 1970 technology. So, let me put this upside right. So if you overlaid this, the city with that 2.6 also got all the easements they needed to build and clean up the Marion Iron and the roundabout site. So it really chopped up this piece of ground. From what we can tell, nothing was ever spent on that site itself. So if you look at this page, this is what it looked like. There's several buildings and luckily it was a clean site. It didn't need the contamination cleanup like the bottom site did. Our project started, we say 6th Avenue, but our project started did 7th Avenue through this entire, where all the great stuff has happened, started there, and phase 1 went to the other side of the roundabout. All that was built, honestly, to put it simply, on the back of this lot. And I would say that highest and best use has already happened. This is gone. It's gone. Now it's a clean slate. And a developer that I don't know, I've never met, is willing to spend $10.5 million on that site. That was the only thing in the agreement that was agreed to, and it spelled out what highest and best use is. In the study that you guys had done, he showed a couple of pictures that the developer proposed. They're nice looking buildings. And then he showed a picture of what he thinks it should be, which is Mark Cottrell's, I can't find it, which is a beautiful project going on downtown Marion. $30 million project. When we brought Mark Cottrell down here for a tour of our properties, we showed him that property on the roundabout. He was not interested. He wanted to be where the energy is, and that's downtown. That is too far out for that type of project. If you drive from that roundabout to downtown Marion, there's a substantial amount of ground that screams redevelopment. This property doesn't hold up the development in the city just because you want to put your pet project on this particular lot. This is not what our agreement is. Our agreement says promote highest and best use. Well, I think we can prove that it's been for sale several different ways to several different clients for several years. This is the only client willing to guarantee, and by the way, he's willing to, he thinks it'll be more than 10.5, but the pictures on page, let me see, that he put in here are almost laughable, to be honest. That he dreams of these $100 million projects being on that lot. So our requirement is 10.5, one or more commercial buildings. It isn't anything what we all dream, but there's no backup contracts. I know this has been stalled a while, and we talked about hotels and those things. No one's ever come to us and says, we'd love to see a different project, but he's willing to spend that kind of money today, not 10, 20 years from now. We have an obligation and to promote and to finish our contract with the city. There's a timeline on that. And you're not allowing us to move forward with our obligations by calling that agreement something other than what it is.
So I think the important contribution here that you've given to all of us this evening is, and the picture that you're using, have put up for us, from where you started to where you've ended up, very clearly has been, a contribution to pre-position what otherwise was some unusable property into something that could be used.
It was a catalyst for everything that's going on.
So I certainly appreciate that, and I would hope my colleagues do. We're really just focused on the elements of the agreement, and as we've already just expressed, there, at least the consensus is that there is a radical difference between what was originally contemplated and what is now being requested.
I totally agree.
And I think, in the interest of time this evening, but also as this will come up before us at our next round of meetings, this gives us some time to think about just what you've shared with us.
I mean, the first concept was the first concept that was basically a hospital. It was reached out by many different people trying to bring that here, but those days are gone. Those big buildings are being tore down if you look in other cities.
Yeah, and so I think that kind of information is useful for us to think about as we move into our formal action at the next meeting. I guess the question is there any other remaining item that you want to offer that we consider as we get ready for that determination at this later date?
Well, our developers, I mean, if it came down to, right now, it seems like you're saying it's single building or nothing. Well, I thought that was already agreed to, that it's one or more buildings. But since this was such a deviation from the first one, which is a single building, that you can't get around this, well, that's already been done. When this was all redone, it was one or more buildings. And there's caveats in there for market. And we have a market expert here that markets this stuff. And what's going on is to hold to a developer, and it's a new developer to the city, to say you're not welcome here, I don't think is useful.
I just, in response to that, I don't think that's our intent. I think what we're doing is we're focused on the form and construct of the agreement. And I think the agreement had either single or multiple building configurations that were attached to it. And so again, it's not about, I don't believe it's about our point of consideration or concern isn't about the number of buildings per se. It is about a fundamental change in utilization in terms of what was originally agreed to versus what is now
nothing
before
was
us.
agreed to. All of them are concept. There's no agreements. The only agreement was that it be promoted to be highest and best use and 10.5, one or more buildings. That is what it says. That's our agreement. It isn't anything other than what is written at our agreement. And to say it's now 10.5 isn't our dream. It's closer to 30 million is our dream. So we're going to hold it to this higher standard, and that ain't what our agreement is.
Yeah.
So you're asking us to sit on this until this other project comes along that hasn't in 5 years. It's not a big marketplace for any type of buildings
I'd
than
like
what are
to-
being proposed right now.
I think we're unfortunately straying a little further afield on this because I don't know that we're, in waiting any specific other project. We're trying to simply come to a clear decision on this agreement. Steve, you had a question earlier, but
I mean, I can take, I mean, I'm not a big fan of I know derogatory to a car wash, but they are in some very high, very expensive ground in our neighboring city has gone up on major corridors.
Yeah.
And it's just, I shake my head and how does that work? But they make it work and who are we to say it won't?
so I think your general message to us and the giving sort of the historical perspective has been valuable. We're gonna move this to actionable discussion and consideration at our next series of council meetings to have clarity on this. And all I will just say is, and I know how my colleagues operate, they're gonna give this serious consideration and they're going to review all the information that we have in front of us, starting with the original agreement, as well as any other inputs in your comments tonight. I don't know that we can do anything else with it at this particular
I
setting.
appreciate it. In closing though, I would like to say that, take a look at why that agreement is the way, why this lot happened to have that agreement. It's because it brunt the shoulder of this entire 6th Avenue corridor to get it built. And now it's with all these great things happening around it and opening all that up, this is held to a standard that way above what the agreement is. It's being held to a standard closer to a $30 million project, honestly, than it is a $10 million project. And I don't think that's fair to us. And I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers. It's not fair to the developer that came to this town wanting to spend some money. So that's all I want to close with saying, that keep that
Jeff.
in mind. That there was a lot that went on in this agreement. You don't typically see one like this. It's very rare that somebody would take on the responsibility of building an entire corridor for a city.
Okay.
And put it on their lot. And then now to be held to a different standard than what the agreement actually is. That's really.
Jeff, your message is heard, and
All right.
I just
Appreciate it.
I appreciate the commentary because it informs ultimately our decision that we'll make.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
I just wanted to make another clarification for the record that we did have the agreement reviewed by our bond and TIF counsel. And John Banas was not able to be here tonight, but he did send a letter in which he states that the development agreement with Genesis gives the city the right to agree or not to agree to changes requested by the developer to the concept plan for the development of their property. The agreement does require the city to give good faith consideration to these requests. I want to make sure that that's clear on the record.
And I think the collective input this evening helps with that. So thank you. Are there any other public comments for the good of the cause?
Brian Rostek, 4140 Deer Valley Drive, Marion, Iowa. I am with Scopen Realty, and I'm the listing agent for the subject property. I was handed the legal report today, and I don't know that I could disagree with it more. And this is just not me looking at this report and saying, oh, these are my clients, I've got to say something to support them. Given time, I think I can give you enough information to have you look at highest and best use from the position from which it's intended. That report clearly says there's a delineation between highest and best use and what the public says and highest and best use for the city. But when highest and best use is used, there's a common terminology for it, and it's the one that the public views. It's not this long-term view of the city. I know the city has to look at that. I mean, we can see those results every day. But the issue I have is it's almost as if that report is saying, yeah, but. we want to make a decision because this, we want to create a new terminology that's not the common terminology that was, they used highest and best use for a reason in the development agreement. You can look it up online, Wikipedia, you can go to the Appraisal Institute. They will tell you what highest and best use is. And it really doesn't speak to, yeah, but if the city's looking at it, and there's nothing in there about that. And one of the absolute pillars of highest and best use is financial feasibility. The developer's got to pull the project off. It's got to make sense. And this property has been marketed for 6 years now, and it has been professionally presented to major medical users, regional and national office users, and to the point of being, I can't remember the word you used, drastically. You said there's a drastic deviation, or you said something along those lines. Is it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference between the economy then and the economy now. These things aren't getting developed now. Yeah, the U of I's got a huge project going in North Liberty, and we would love to have something like that here. I absolutely would love to have something like that here. But in discussions with them, they won't do anything but lease at this point. That's how they got into Cedar Rapids. They won't build a property now. So what I would say is this. I hope you put in perspective what this Leland report is saying, because it's essentially saying we want broad in Maine, but not in Uptown, and we want it to be 30 to 40% bigger than broad in Maine. You really see that happening there? When you have a neighbor of a dollar store, several convenience stores, strip centers? I don't. So just to sum up, I'd like the opportunity, now that I've finally seen that report, to add some comments to it. And I think it'll make a difference in your decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, public forum wise? All righty. We'll go over to council comments. Mr. Sternad?
I have none, thank you.
I have a couple. I want to thank everybody that was involved in the thank you for the team at the Y for the life-saving. That was a big moment. That was a for our young staff. It was an 18-year-old lifeguard and a 26-year-old lifeguard that were involved in that situation. And it makes me very proud to be on both sides of that situation, of how that came with being a city and the city council and our fire department and rescue. I mean, I just can't tell you how fast people were there, and never having in my years, blank years, experienced something that immediate and life or death. So I applaud our department for the professionalism that they handled, and the team at the Y for that. So thank you for recognizing that group tonight. And a number of the people that were here were the water aerobics class members that were present. They're a very tight group, which is what we like to see in this community, a community within the community. And then, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna take this from the mayor, but if you want to continue with it, but we had visitors yesterday. Thank you, Medco and Chamber. The mayor was a great welcomer, and he can talk about that, but we had two communities. I speak from this, the perspective of the Y, but both, we had reps from a delegation from Ames and a delegation from from Pella that came in the afternoon, about a dozen people, both of them looking at the YMCA as they looked to build a project. And the mayor was wonderful with our Ames group, discussing the importance of city involvement to make these important community projects happen. And we reiterated that with the group from Pella, because it will be very city driven. They are looking at building a facility that is the same size as our Marion YMCA, if not larger. So we're very proud to show off our community, and that was a big part of this project, and the city was a big part of making that happen. Yoga on Saturday morning if it's not raining.
By the way, I forgot to turn the gavel back over to the mayor.
Welcome, Kim. Glad to have you. We are really lucky to have you. So congratulations. Well earned. Second, office hours on Saturday, rain or shine. I'm gonna be there with my rain jacket on and umbrella, so please stop by.
Show up.
Yes, please.
Big doll.
And I know, right? The school year starts next week for all of us, including myself. And so I'm super excited about the start of another school year. And lastly, as you know, we're knocking on the door for the month of September. Bill, I cannot wait for the darn library to open. You have no idea. I'm losing sleep over
Pressure.
this at this point. So I bet, yeah. That's all we've got.
The only thing I have, and I've been remiss in not bringing this up previously, but I was taking a look at the most recent project update that Jake had and Brooke had issued for this week. And I remember way back when at the start of Streetscape, I was all a Twitter about how the communications and coordination with all the businesses in the community and all of that. Mike, please share with everybody involved with that. Tom, they did a miraculous job in the communications management for that overall project. And I just think that's a big plus for why it went so well. So thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay. For my part, welcome Kim again. I think we're building a great team and you're an important part of it. Look forward to working with you in a different capacity from before, but we're still working with you. And it's good to have you on our team. Since the last meeting, we had the 50th anniversary of Freund Vector Corporation, which I attended along with our economic development representatives. The president of Freund Corporation came from Japan. It was a really nice event. That's really a company that's been around, kind of a quiet company, but has been a big part of our manufacturing base in Marion. And they've kind of put Marion on the map worldwide. They're the #1 company in their field in the US. They're in the top 5 globally. So they put Marion on the map, and it was good to be there to celebrate with all of them. We've had a couple good ribbon cuttings this week. And we did host the group from Ames. There were 22 from the Ames region. A couple mayors, elected officials, economic development people. And they wanted to come and see what all the hype is about Marion. And it was kind of fun. It was fun to spend the day with them and show them all our amenities and the public amenities of the city. It was a heavy focus on the city's investment in quality of life and in amenities that ends up driving private investment. And they were amazed by the why. They asked a lot of questions because I think Ames was looking at a rec center too. The fire station, the Artway, the Uptown, all the development in Uptown. They had a presentation on the visioning process we went through. So they were really interested, and they were videoing everything and taking notes frantically and asking lots of questions. So I think, sometimes we don't stop to just kind of think about what's going on here and how lucky we are, but certainly the rest of the state knows it. And it's fun to get to talk about it and show it to everyone. And then finally, the mayor for a day today. That was a lot of fun. So those were four young people whose parents had bought the mayor for a day package at silent auctions at 2 different events, one for the youth center and one for another event. But we had a good time this afternoon, just showed them around. They loved everything they saw, and maybe we'll have a future mayor in that group someday. Who knows? So with that, thank you all. Have a great weekend. Thanks for all your good work. Yes.
Yes, and before we do that, just for the record, my other comment I'll follow up was the young gentleman here, Deckers, I said to him, they have playing cards, Marion playing cards. I said, what do you have there? He said, playing cards. I said, they gave you playing cards? And he said, yeah. I said, I didn't get playing cards. I'm on the council. He said, I'm the mayor today. So. So he picked that up quick.
They got a goodie bag of Marion swag.
Yeah.
So
So he is the mayor today. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn to closed session regarding land acquisition as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa.
Second.
moved in seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding land acquisition as permitted under section 21.51J of the Code of Iowa. Can we have the council's statement, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. I've reviewed the proposed subject matter for the closed session and find the same to be appropriate under Iowa Code Section 21.51J.
Thank you. Before we take the vote, any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Harper,
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mayor Abu Osley,
Yes.
Ms. Menzer,
Yes.
Mr. Sternad.
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned to closed session. Thank you for joining us.